Good morning, Mike Daley.
Good morning.
So we have you in. We obviously will be offering the same opportunity to Mr. Carpenter, Jeff Carpenter, who is the DA in Herkimer. This has been a pretty heated campaign. You made some big accusations, and the OD came out with a pretty big story today that seems to take the side of Carpenter. How do you respond to that?
Well, this is the way I respond. This back and forth through the news media, including here on your show, where I make a statement and then he responds.
Yeah.
The news media with the paper, I go in and do an interview and then he responds. When there's social media where there's a comment and somebody then has to respond, is just really not fair to the voters. The voters need to hear from both of us at the same time, be able to judge us and our records, and that is going to take a debate. I've requested one through the Republican Party, despite the fact that last year there were 3 debates in the primary for sheriff. They've declined. I take that as him declining to debate.
Okay.
I've researched his record through Freedom of Information requests. He clearly has mine because it's right there in the district attorney's office. And I believe he just cannot defend his record, and that's why he does not want to debate.
You are the former DA in Herkimer County. Obviously, you're making a feisty challenge here in going after him, and you're saying that you've been people have requested that you run because you feel that the stuff isn't being done properly in the current DA's office.
Well, he simply is not doing his job. I mean, you have an office there with 5 attorneys in it, nearly $1 million a year budget. This is his 5th year in office, and with the current county court judge, in 5 years, there has been 1 trial. That despite the fact that there have been thousands of felonies committed in the county. When you plea bargain every single case, that's exactly what he does, you release back into our community some very bad people. You have an obligation to the people that you serve to be able to protect them.
I'm going to ask you.
The number you're saying just seems alarming to me on the surface. You're saying in Herkimer County in the last 5 years, there has only been 1 trial.
1 trial in county court with the county court judge. 1 trial.
What's the note on the current county court judge?
That's Carpenter's former boss. They worked together for 10 years. He hired Carpenter into the district attorney's office, but he is the county court judge.
So
all trials are conducted in county court on all felonies.
Is there another court where their trials are happening?
There are in local court. I'm sure there are
local court, but county court
there is only that court to conduct felony trials. There has been 1 trial in 5 years.
Now, the OD story says today, and clearly this came from people that are supporting Jeff Carpenter for DA. They're really saying they're focusing on rehabilitation. I mean, I'm sure you read today's story.
I have not
Top
seen
story
today's.
above the fold.
I haven't seen today's story.
And recidivism is a big issue, according to Herkimer County Probation Director Gary Murphy. I think throwing people back into criminal element, which incorporates jail, it incorporates incarceration. I think it's been proven that it has not been overall successful long term. So that's kind of going in contrast to what you've said. That is, you feel they should be prosecuting these people and putting them in jail.
There are certain criminals that absolutely should be prosecuted and prosecuted to whatever extent is necessary. Those involve violent crimes, crimes against children, crimes against women. When you are a serial rapist and you are offered a plea bargain that allows you back on the street, that's wrong. He has done that. When you are a serial child molester and you are offered a plea bargain that gives you the opportunity to be back on the street, that is wrong. You take the opportunity to remove those people from our community, period.
I have Rick. You want to take some phone calls? Are you
I'll
okay
take
with
phone
it?
calls.
All right. Rick is on in Utica with a question for Mike Daley. Rick, go ahead. You're on the radio.
Hi, Mr. Daley. I remember you from when you worked in the courthouse, Oneida County, and I worked in a maintenance department then. And you're a stand-up guy. You care about people, and you'd make a great DA.
All right.
Well, thank
and
you
that's
for
all
your...
I got to say. Mike's very good at what he does.
All right, Rick, thanks for the call.
All right.
Do you remember Rick?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. That's an unfair question. I shouldn't have asked that question, but I'm assuming you do.
I do.
Okay, so the other issue has been you're going over the numbers of safety and not safe. More safe than the DA is saying, and here's his quote in today's paper. From my standpoint, my biggest concern is the concern for public safety going forward, and that any alternative we use does not compromise that. He is saying that Herkimer County is a safer place right now. You're challenging that with your numbers. He's challenging it with his numbers.
Then let's have a debate.
How is okay? Because I was going to say, how does the average voter differentiate between which set of numbers should we be using?
There are a lot of numbers flying around. Here's the numbers that are important to the voters. One is there have been virtually no trials despite many violent felons. There have been all these plea bargains, and they're not even conducted in a manner that is expedited to get the inmates out of jail. We're spending nearly $2 million a year to house prisoners outside the county. If you're going to plea bargain every case, you move them quicker. There are literally hundreds of defendants who sit in jail 6 months or longer without their cases being resolved.
All right, so you're saying if you're going to plea bargain, you might as well do it faster than you're currently doing it.
Yes. There were inmates who sat in jail for over 2 years, out of county at $100 a day. It's like staying at the Holiday Inn. 2 years before their cases were resolved in county court. They were plea bargained and then sent to prison. Why are we paying for these inmates to sit in jail when you can do the same thing in 2 months that you did in 2 years?
All right.
Isn't there a time restriction on how long you can hold someone?
There is, and what he does is he requires defendants, as part of their plea bargain process, to waive speedy trial rules so that he can manipulate, in my opinion, the system in order to be able to then plea bargain further down the line and give whatever his reduction in sentence to these defendants.
Isn't there possible with some of these plea bargains that there could be circumstances? And there are circumstances. Every case has circumstances. But could it be the evidence isn't there? Could it be that the police force, maybe a mistake was made? Could it be possible that they don't want the victim to have to get onto the stand? I mean, what about those circumstances when a deal is being cut?
There are always circumstances that can lead to a plea bargain, and there are a wide variety of reasons. But it doesn't happen in every single case. Those are the exception to the rule. When you have every single case that is being plea bargained, you have no credibility amongst the criminal element. They know they just sit it out, and the longer they wait, the better the deal gets. And that's what's going on in Herkimer County.
All right. And in terms of debate, you would be willing to debate
anytime,
pick a day.
any place.
If we were to throw a day down, we could do something. We certainly could do something here. Andrew, if you want to try to set that up. Obviously, the DA will have the opportunity to respond to this.
Obviously.
As he had. You want to add something on that?
No.
So if we were to say a debate during the week right after Labor Day, it's pretty close to the election. It would be a week away from the election, but you'd be available that week to debate?
I would be available anytime.
Because I think at this point it is, because there is a he said, she said every time the two of you go out. So it's here, and it's on WKTV, and I guess it's in the Observer Dispatch, where you make a charge, the DA comes back, and you quote numbers, the DA comes back and quotes his numbers, and we as voters are sitting there to say, all right, well, who's telling the truth? Who's skewing the numbers? It would be beneficial, right, to have the two of you sitting in one room, going back and forth, and then let the people decide from there.
I believe that that's the best resolution for the voters, to be able to determine who is the more reliable candidate when they tell them something.
All right. Mike Daley is running for district attorney. It is not your first go-round. This would be your second time as DA in Herkimer County. What do you say to the people that are saying that you retired or you quit? How do you respond to that?
I respond by saying that I'm coming out of retirement because the job that's being done in the current district attorney's office is appalling. He's simply not doing the job that is required of a district attorney.
All right, we'll break, and again, we'll give the DA the opportunity to respond and see what we can do with this debate. Get you both in the same studio. All right, Andrew, I'm distracted now. You got to give me names again here.
This is Steve.
Steve. It's Steve and
Steve's
Keith.
Restoration. Steve and Keith from
Steve and Keith.
Restoration.
All right, gentlemen.
They're also
Sorry.
regular staples and favorites on the History Channel series.
I know that. Yeah.
American Restoration.
So, good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing?
We're doing great.
We have coming up is this expo that's going to be at the Guys Expo. It's going to be at the auditorium, and you guys will be a part of it. First of all, explain people about your restoration and why someone like the History Channel would be really focused on what you guys do. Not just because it's cool.
Right. Well, that's the most important
It
thing.
probably is.
It is cool.
Yeah.
But no, we do everything from antique and classic cars to custom cars and custom motorcycles. We also do like 50 style diners. We do antique arcade games. A lot of custom painting and designing, fabricating. We build custom furniture. Like Cadillac couches and things like that. So, we've got our hands in all kinds of different projects. We love designing and creating different things and, making one-off vehicles and, really high-end cars. So,
Where were you guys when, in 1994 or 5, it was just this one thing we were doing on the air.
1995, I was in middle school.
Yeah, well, okay. That wasn't very cool. Okay, you and Bill Morehouse, not cool. Okay, so let me tell you what we did. Is I said I'd like to give. We always were trying to give away a car on the radio, and the radio station was just cheap. Nobody would give anything away. We never had good prizes. So I said, I want to give away let's give away a car. And then somebody said, well, you should give away a convertible. So I got in that morning someone to donate a Jeep. And I got another guy with a Sawzall. They cut the top off of the thing, and we then kind of tried to restore it ourselves.
That's great.
And we gave away a convertible Jeep. It was really cool. But, man, when we cut the top off, it screwed up the whole electric system in the whole car. It was terrible. It was terrible.
You guys probably had a ton of fun, though, right?
It was a blast.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you guys do.
Pretty much.
Bill actually still has it in his backyard.
I do.
If you guys are looking
do.
for a project.
That's right. It's now my pool. we filled it with water, and that's where we swim.
That's awesome.
So, all right. So talk about some of the stuff that you'll be doing. First of all, you're sponsoring this arm wrestling thing. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's something I do. That's
Are you an arm wrestler?
A big part of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I've been doing professional arm wrestling now for a few years, and the World Arm Wrestling League is a really great organization, and they put on tournaments all over North America and Europe. And the big event is Las Vegas, and the end of the year that's like the finals, which was just on ESPN too. But they're going to be sponsoring this event, so at the Guys Expo. So it's a really great experience for people that have never seen the sport because they have a novice class. So if you've never seen it and you want to try it out, here's your chance to do it. And then they also have amateur and professional classes. And actually, we're going to do a master's class too, and women's. Nice. So all these events going on are really exciting, especially the women's. Because they're like out of control, crazier than the guys.
I know. I know.
So there's a lot of technicality to that. I mean, certain
there are rules.
Athletes.
There are rules.
Well, also too from the workout standpoint. I mean, some like boxers have different workouts, and martial artists have different workouts. There's got to be specific hand.
I wanted to ask, is it the shoulder, the tri, the bi, the forearm? Where do you get your strength from?
Well, it's really a total body workout and sport. But the biggest thing with arm wrestling is tendon strength and ligament strength. So we train specifically for arm wrestling. I mean, it's just like any other professional athlete trains 5 to 7 days a week. So do we. So we'll have 1 or 2 days of practice where we're actually arm wrestling and beating each other to death, pretty much. So, when you leave a practice, I mean, your arms feel like you got knives in them. But then, our regular workouts throughout the week, and you're always trying to stay, at the right weight, just like any other, strength sport where you have to weigh in, like powerlifting.
So is it a situation where there's a weigh-in for this?
There is. Yeah.
Okay.
There's 4 weight classes for the men's, and there's 2 for the women's. And I mean, it's something where the people that are at the top of the sport are in very, very good shape.
We're talking to Steve and Keith. Steve Hale, of course, is the owner of Steve's Restoration and Hot Rods in Frankfort, and you've seen them on the History Channel series American Restorations. Are you from Frankfort?
I'm not from Frankfurt.
Okay, you look like somebody be from Frankfurt, though. You look a little Italian.
What is that? I don't know what that means.
I'm just saying he looks a little Italian.
Oh, okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I've met a lot of really good people from Frankfurt.
Hey, I'm not
since I moved there.
I'm not going to insult you. That would be stupid on my part. Right?
That'd be challenging you a little bit of a different challenge.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Wrestling match.
But I mean, Frankfurt's a big Italian town. You kind of look Italian. I don't know if you are. But.
I'm 50% Italian, 50 Irish.
Yeah, well, there.
Yeah.
Whoa, boy, what a combination.
Irish and
That's
Italian.
what I've been living with my whole life,
That's
too. But I don't have the arm strength to show it. So.
Keith, are you in the Masters program?
No, I don't participate in that.
You're not
at
going to
all.
do any of it.
The only thing I ever did was wrist wrestle them.
Okay.
Keith is
I
a
don't know
former
what that
Mercy
is.
champion. We used to play Mercy. Keith and I became real good friends traveling the country doing these big car shows. We'd go to Las Vegas and Detroit and stuff like that together. And we used to play Mercy. Now and then I'd let him take over driving while I was sleeping. He'd bend my finger back and stuff like that.
So
That can hurt. Yeah.
can we go back to the ref? How do you work your ligaments to strengthen them? I'm fascinated.
So it's mostly like static hold type of workout rather than doing a complete rep when you're doing it like doing a regular exercise. We try to do a hold where you hold into that tension for a while, and that's what builds up your tendons and ligaments and just actually arm wrestling. And if somebody really wanted to get into the sport, you come to these tournaments and you meet these different groups of guys, and we all have teams, and everybody is very welcoming to new people wanting to come in and train, and just getting on the table and actually doing it is the best way to strengthen the muscles and the tendons and ligaments for the sport. So,
and I'd imagine your job, too, helps with the strength, too.
It does.
Turning, cutting, all that stuff.
It definitely does.
Anything physical,
the painting, when we do our big paint jobs, I mean, some of them take 2 or 3 days without stopping holding a paint gun. You're pretty tired.
Yeah, I just did a roof and just using that nail gun.
Well, you were working on a roof. You didn't do the roof. You went after one day. You said, "I'm not doing this. I'm hiring somebody to do it."
It was me.
Supervising.
Smart way.
It was me and my son and a kid named Jack and my father. And let me tell you, roofing is wow. It's
Especially in the summertime.
and it was so hard for me to sit down there and say, "Just move it over a little bit, just a little over to the side." Now it's straight. But just that nail gun alone. I mean, if you don't do this stuff on a regular basis, just pulling it, and
Right.
I watched when I finally hired roofers to come in and do it right. They're throwing these things around like crazy because they do it every day.
Right.
Same thing with a paint gun. I'm
Same
assuming,
thing,
so.
yeah. I mean, and there's people from all walks of life in arm wrestling, which is another really cool thing because you meet a lot of really great people. But there's guys that are carpenters or mechanics or people from the military. I mean, so there's all different backgrounds.
School lunch ladies.
Those
never
are
know.
the worst. You got to watch out for them.
Don't mess with Mrs. Jones.
A lot of chili stirring. Really,
They're the ones that can really get in your
How
head.
is this going to work at the Guys Expo though? So would they now, if this is sponsored by them and somebody wins it, does it mean you get credit for that win?
Well, you're not going to become the world champion at this
Right.
event, but
Sure.
you are going to get some bragging rights. You're going to get some cool trophies, and it's a ton of fun.
Somebody might see you and say, "Hey, you need to move on to the next round."
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and you're going to get information where you can go to the next tournaments and, that then become state championships and regional qualifiers and et cetera, et
This is
cetera.
kind of like do you remember, well, you were in middle school, the Tough Man contest. Remember when they did that here? And it was just like a fight. Guys, just regular people would get out and fight. It's kind of like
It was before MMA.
It was before
It
MMA.
was a forerunner.
It was
really
the
was.
non-sanctioned MMA, basically.
Yes, yeah.
The backyard MMA.
But I remember there was a guy that, and I bet he could be in this contest. And he's a cop now in Ilion, and stumping by Mike. He was a lumber guy and huge, and he began fighting in this thing, and no one would fight him. He couldn't find anybody to fight him. But he might be a guy that'd be a good one to. So you're looking for people to say, "Hey, I want to get into this thing, and I'll compete."
Exactly, and that's why this is a great place to do it because we have this novice division. So anyone that's never competed in a tournament before can come in and see what it's all about.
All right, cool.
And I mean, the other classes, amateur and professional, are open to anybody that wants to try those out too.
Okay.
So you can register for both classes if you want to try it out.
And there's somebody listening right now saying, "You are the one. You got to get into this thing because you're awesome at this. You always win."
You don't have to be huge.
No,
you don't have to be.
I mean,
huge.
that's the
Right.
thing. I mean, there's some guys on our team. We've got one guy who's about 150 pounds, and he beats a lot of the super heavyweights.
I think
I'm
there's
a big guy, and I'd get my butt kicked in this.
Well,
I know I would.
I got to tell you, I've always done well, and I couldn't today. But I always did well because I have short arms, and there's an advantage there.
There is, I mean, there's a lot of techniques to it that people don't realize.
Right.
So, the short arm can benefit you in some ways, and, a long arm can benefit you in others. So,
Right.
that's something you get on the table and you start learning the sport.
Okay, so you're going to be you'll be doing this, but what else will you be doing at the at this Guys Expo? Will you have stuff on display? And
We have a lot going on with the Guys Expo. So we're
you
gonna
got my convertible Jeep. We're going to finally
First and
bring that
foremost,
to-
we're going to have the convertible
Resurrected.
Jeep.
Yeah, that's big.
We're going to unveil that.
We're going to unveil it.
But
Get-
if that
yeah.
doesn't work out,
Okay.
You mean there won't be the huge draw?
Exactly. So our first plan was to bring all of the stuff from Steve's Restorations and Hot Rods. So, we do a lot of different trade shows, and we set up some cool stuff. So
Yeah.
basically, it'll be, a few custom cars, a couple custom motorcycles, and some of the items that were actually on American Restoration
Cool.
that we did for the show. Our whole crew will be there signing autographs, taking pictures with people, answering questions about the show. And we're also going to be having we're going to have a TV in our booth that's running episodes of the show. So that'll be really great. So
Neat.
people will get to see that and see what we do. On top of that, we've got a really good friend of ours and a client's NASCAR vehicle that we're bringing. We're going to start that up, every hour on the hour.
Wow.
And we've also got a NASCAR uniform that people can try on and take pictures with the car for a $5 donation that goes to the Shalimar Foundation, which is to benefit children. It's a really, really great organization. So that's going to be super fun. It's going to be a good event. Then we've got the arm wrestling thing going on, and that's going to be great. So,
This is going to be a really cool event. I'm going to tell you.
We've also got A&P Master Images that we do a lot of work with. They're going to be on site with us selling our official merchandise and
Nice.
promoting their business. So, I mean, there's
You
going to be a
guys
ton
are
going
a
on.
big grab for this event. I really think I'm so glad you guys are a part of it. Saturday,
We are too.
September 17th from 1 to 5. It'll be at the auditorium. And very cool. I'm excited.
All right, so are we. Thank you.
Wait till you see my convertible Jeep. You're going to love it.
And women are welcome. We hope to get a lot in the women's division too. So,
All right. Well, there you go. So, and listen, there are some tough ladies out there.
there are.
And as you said, these women can be very intense. So, all right, Steve and Keith, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Got a break.
thank
Actually,
you.
we're back here tomorrow morning. So enjoy your day. It's WIBX.